Hello and welcome to another episode of PsycKicks. My name is Liv, and today we're going to be talking about the Conjuring House. If you're new to the podcast, hello. I'm a psychic medium. This is PsycKicks. We are your sidekicks to all things metaphysical. And Em, my business partner, and I have gone to the Conjuring House not once, but twice.
No.
That's a better one, I think. So that is what we're going to talk about today, because we've done one personal investigation where it was just us and our friends when we went to the Conjuring House, but we also collaborated with Mackie and Amanda from YouTube. If you guys don't know who Mackie and Amanda are, they are a fabulous duo like ourselves that make spiritual paranormal content, because Amanda is a psychic medium like moi, and Mackie is her best friend. So, it's been a fun time. If you guys want to go watch those videos, I will have a link in the show notes or the description below, depending on if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or our PsycKicks Extras YouTube channel. And you can go watch those videos, because one's on Amanda and Mackie's channel and the other one is on ours. But without further ado, we're going to talk about the house which makes you face your fears. So, the lore of the house is a little bit interesting. If you really want to have the best tour and understanding of the house possible, I would recommend going there if you want to have like a fun vacation at one point in time. The tour guides are fabulous. The only tour guide I've ever had is Corey. And Corey actually used to be the owner before the current owner of the Conjuring House. I know there's a fabulous woman that owns the Conjuring House now, but Corey owned it before her and sold the house to her. So if you're interested in that, Corey, I would recommend as a tour guide. And they're not sponsoring this video. I just really like going to the Conjuring House. I feel like we've reacted to so many videos of it too, and then gone there twice that I don't know. It has a special place in my heart for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the backstory of the house. The house was built originally in 1686, or I should say starting in 1686. So before the foundation or the founding of America as we know it. It was built in 3 sections, beginning with the kitchen and dining room portion that has one living room door area. Then the living room portion to the upstairs, which wraps around from the front door, which is going to be like the second part of the front door, to the other side of the living room that has the fireplace, or at least the first fireplace. This is the room in the video where, if you guys have seen videos of the Conjuring House, the other living room where Carolyn Perrin was apparently thrown from one side of the room to the other. And there is a doll, like a scale model replica of the Annabelle doll in this room. So that's the second portion of the house. And the third and final portion includes like the gift shop area and the staff area. And this last edition of the home was completed in 1736. Hence why the t-shirts list that as the date if you get I've been to the Conjuring House t-shirt, which I also recommend. I know Em has one. I didn't buy one, but I was also I think like when we went to the Conjuring House, I think I was 5 months pregnant. So, you know, it was an interesting time. I just was like, I don't need a t-shirt. I'm already turning into a circle. But the original investigation we had was with Corey, one of the tour guides and one of the owners of the house, or previous owners of the house. And it was lovely to have a tour with someone who admires the paranormal. We had gone on like a whole bunch of other investigations too. We went to the Wilson Castle in Vermont, the Madison Seminary in Ohio, the Fairfield Infirmary in Ohio, and what was the other place that we went to? We went to it was in Cleveland, Ohio. We did like a tour in Ohio, and then we went back out farther east to the Conjuring House. Anyways, we did like a whole little tour, and the Conjuring House was like the only paranormal place that I ended up going on the tour for, because when Em and I make our videos, one of us doesn't go on the tour and then the other one does, and Em's like, I want to know all of the things. So one of us doesn't know and the other person does know, but in this one I got to go on the tour, so I was like, I know everything, and it was a good time. It was fun to go on a tour with Corey because he is someone who also admires the paranormal. And when you go on tours with tour guides at haunted places and they start asking about you and you're like, oh, I'm a psychic medium. Sometimes, not all the times, there were other people like the Madison Seminary. Also, amazing tour guide. I forget what the woman's name was, but she was fabulous. Sometimes they just look at you a little funny because they're like, oh, I'm here to like be a tour guide. But when you tell them that you talk to dead people, that's like the thing that freaks them out, which is just like, okay, that's interesting. But during the tour with Corey, I was able to channel a couple different souls. And it was fun because I got the person that used to live at the house to confirm certain things for me, or at least give me his bit sense on what he thought I was interpreting and, information like that. So one of the souls we believe is the soul of a girl from the original family that built the Conjuring House named the Arnolds. So I believe we talked to Olive Arnold. She was about 6 years old, or at least how she presented to me. She had lighter colored, like blondish brown hair. I guess the Taylor Swift fans are calling it old money blonde or something. I don't know. But she was really cute because she wanted me to convey to Corey about how she loved his dogs when he used to live there. Specifically, there was this one dog that I think he had that was like a Staffordshire or like pit bull cross. And she said that she loved him because he smelled funny, like stinky. And he would always lay on the floor with his belly out, and his belly was pink. And she just thought that Corey's dog was the cutest. So on the tour, she came forward to share that with him and just talk about how he took really good care of the house before it changed owners, because it has had a couple different owners and people that ran ghost investigations or tours there. And she just really appreciated when he owned it. The next person that talked to us on the tour was actually the soul of a Native American man, which, as a psychic medium, I feel like it's always hard for me when the souls of Native Americans actually do step forward, because I don't know, when I learned that I was a medium and my mom is also a medium, we kind of embarked on a journey a little bit together to understand our mediumship. And there's a lot of people out there that I feel like say they're psychic mediums or just like talk about spirituality, and they always like bring it back to Native Americans. And it just like, I don't know, it kind of bothers me. It makes me feel like it's a little like wonky or cliche or like not real sometimes. So when a Native American soul actually does step forward to me, I'm like, okay, is this my mind? Is this my ego? Is this actually happening? And I think in this case, it really was, because we were talking about the type of activity that the Conjuring House experiences. And Corey was telling me that a lot of the times people will see shadow figures of people like peeking out around the corner behind doors and stairwells and things like that. And this land that the Conjuring House is built on was a part of a war called the King's Philip's War, where white settlers were, settling. And it was a time when people were fighting over land, and they took it from the Native Americans. So when they were fighting for their land, the Native people, the people of the Conjuring House, or people that have done investigations there before, believe that the souls that they see peeking out, or the shadow figures behind places, are those of Native Americans who believe that they're still fighting in the war. But when Corey brought this up, this large Native American man, I would say easily, like, if you ever go to the Conjuring House, the ceilings aren't super high, but his head was almost touching the ceiling. I would say like 3-4 inches shy of it. So I don't know, a good 6.5 feet tall, maybe something like that. Comes striding through the room into like from the room where the Annabelle doll is, straight through the walkway and into the other living room area where the fireplace is, that is said that Carolyn Perrin was thrown up against. So he strides into the room as Corey's telling me this and stands in between us. And I was like, whoa. I was just seriously intimidated. And he conveyed to me that the shadow figures that people see peeking behind the doorways that Corey was talking about are not that of Native American spirits who are trying to like protect the land. It's actually of white men and their spirits who are still fighting in the war, quote unquote. And the Native American man specified that, the land has already been settled, and in that time and place, they no longer need to fight for it because it is their land and it will always be their land no matter what. And I was like, wow, that was heavy. So I told Corey that information, and he was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So anyways, that was an interesting thing. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. When I told Corey this, he said that a lot of people, he thought it was interesting that I said this because just based off of like the area that I said that the Native American man walked in from. And when I say walk, it was more like he strode through the room. He said people have caught sightings of a large Native man who walks through the same area that I saw him walk up to me. So it's pretty spooky. All right. And I also believe that I listened and had like a physical clairvoyant interaction with possibly or presumably Mr. Arnold, like the dude that started the house in the first place. So Mr. Arnold himself conveyed to me that the reason the land the house sits on is in the shape of a triangle right now is to represent the Holy Trinity. So when these people came, his family and others who settled in the area, they came because they were coming over from like the Boston, I know it's already in Connecticut or like the New England area, but the Boston, Massachusetts area where more settlers were down south, they actually migrated up north to seek refuge from religious persecution. And the symbolic shape of their land was in hope for good blessings of like the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. So that is why the land is shaped that way. Because there's been a lot of different speculations like aliens and all this other stuff. But that is the way that Mr. Arnold presumably conveyed the reasoning behind it. And it was the reason I say I believe it's Mr. Arnold is this guy came up for me from around the staircase, which goes upstairs when you're in the other sitting room with the fireplace that Carolyn was supposedly thrown up against. And there was this guy who just strode in, and he had darker colored hair, like a mustache. He was in that older century period clothing, like 1700s. And when I started describing him, I was like, I don't know who this man is. And Corey was obviously on the tour with us, and we were talking about it. And he goes, is his name Mr. Arnold? And he like gave me the first name, and I forget, it escapes me. But at the Conjuring House, I don't know why, I get physical clair information, which for me as a mental medium, I don't usually physically perceive things, whether it be visually or audibly. But audibly in my ear, I heard, yes. And I was like, oh no, why? Why are you saying yes in my ear? Why can I hear it? Why? Oh, it was literally just so, I can't even explain it more than that to you. So let's move on with the rooms of the Conjuring House. If you've never been there, go watch a video on YouTube. Watch a scary one, watch a non-scary one, watch one of our videos. Like I said, they'll be in the link below. But yeah, so you can know what rooms I'm talking about. So we're going to start with the living room with the fireplace, where Mrs. Perrin from the Conjuring House stories was said to be thrown against. So there's not much activity in this room, actually. When we first went there with our friends, just as the PsycKicks, I saw a lady sitting on the couch that's up against the wall to the left of the fireplace and to the right of the front door. She looked to be wearing like more 1800s clothing, and she seemed to be like, I don't know, a little fancy, I would say. So I'm not sure if fancier people ever made it to the Conjuring House, since it's kind of a little bit way out in the rhubarb. But it was interesting. She just sat there and was watching us as we were unpacking our ghost hunting equipment. Like I said, there's shadow figures that are seen peeking around the stairway leading to the second floor, which is the staircase leads to the second floor right behind the basement door and right across from the room that leads over into like the gift shop room. Now, this is the room where the tall Native American man walked from the adjoining room to communicate with me, and it was very, very odd. And also the same room where Mr. Arnold clairaudiently whispered in my ear, yes, to confirm that it was him. And I will never get over that, ever, in my entire life. Never, never, never. Experiencing paranormal things physically is something that I don't want to encounter often, honestly, but I will never forget that experience. All right, so we have the adjoining living room. Oh, I want to talk about the living room with the fireplace still. We went there with Amanda too, and this was really fun. We did a little like pendulum reading in that room too, because Amanda had brought in her pendulum. And I don't know if this was in the video of us collaborating there, but it was fun nonetheless because I don't know, that room just seems to be like the room to set up a lot of things, that in the kitchen. So if you ever go there on like a private investigation, setting your stuff up just in like the front room that I'm talking about, the living room with the fireplace or the kitchen, is a really good spot. I feel like there's not always a lot of activity in there, honestly, but Amanda tried to do a REM pod session on the fireplace in her video of going to the Conjuring House by herself, because she just did that after we left, which was really fun. But she had a really interesting REM pod session, so go check out that video on her channel too. So moving on to the adjoining living room. So this is the room right next door, which currently has the library, and the library served as Mr. and Mrs. Perrin's bedroom during the Conjuring House hauntings. And this is also the room that has the replica of the Annabelle doll in it, but it's not the real thing. So if you watch that video and you're like, oh, there's Annabelle in there, it's not the real Annabelle doll. Sorry. In this room, this is where Corey told us the story about Mrs. Perrin having, the library. So that was the room that Carolyn and her husband had their bedroom, and now it's a library. The most recent owners, I think in like the 70s or 80s, were a really nice, cute couple. The one guy was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and his wife is the one that ran the daycare in the basement. And she's also the reason why the kitchen in the upstairs has like really cute little paintings of like, it looks like pineapples or cherry trees. Anyways, it's a library now, but it used to be the Perrin's bedroom. And this is the room where Corey told us the story about Mrs. Perrin having nightmares because it was her bedroom, and about how the nightmare was about a woman who was allegedly named, quote, Bathsheba, who was haunting her in the home. I would like to say, a soul by the name of Bathsheba does not haunt the house. End of story. Capiche? Cool. Whatever lore you've heard about Bathsheba is not correct. I fully believe it's not. And what actually is haunting one of the things haunting the Conjuring House is not a human soul, but instead a succubus whom haunted both Mr. and Mrs. Perrin, leading to an increase in paranormal activity. So there is, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I said this is the house that makes you face your fears, right? Well, if you've listened to our other podcasts and some of our other videos on YouTube, we talk about poltergeists. So poltergeists are just a amalgamation of energy which is accumulated or attracted to the fears or negative emotions that you have. So when it comes to darker entities exist on a lower vibrational frequency. And the reason they seek out people to scare is because the energy that you give off with your emotions of being scared by anything that they try to manifest as paranormal activity is what is going to allow them to have more energy to continue existing and or growing. Now, the Conjuring House has so much scariness associated with it because of the lore, legends, and people that go there, that there's just a whole menagerie of things that are there to freak you out. But I believe that the succubus and other like bigger, more solid, scary, negative entities were drawn there by other people or other things. And I feel like the Perrins were just, I mean, the house is really old too. So you don't even know what type of other hardships or negative emotions the families that lived there before. I mean, it was in the Arnold family for generations, like 7 generations or something like that. Don't quote me. I'm trying to remember what Corey said on our tour. But it was a long freaking time, my guys. So any emotions that they had, religious things, non-religious things, hardships, just bad things have been attracted there. 1680s is when it was built. So now in the 1900s, 1970s, that is a long freaking time for energy to accumulate in a place. And then I also talk about the wells underneath it and the river that runs under the properties in other videos. And that's another reason we believe that the Conjuring House is so haunted, because it runs over and is a part of ley lines. And ley lines are just big old energy centers that paranormal activity and other energetic or metaphysical things are attracted to. So the fact that this place is so old, on a lot of ley lines, has a large history and a lot of people that have lived there, it is just a hot spot for any type of entity, specifically negative ones, if that's something that you're manifesting, to just mess with you. So I do not believe that there is any sort of Bathsheba spirit there. I believe that the succubus spirit that was preying upon both Mrs. Perrin and Mr. Perrin, because if you listen to the stories, he would go downstairs and fiddle with the basement, the coal furnace and things. And there's some stories where he was talking to like some sort of feminine entity. And I believe the feminine entity that was preying upon Mr. Perrin is also the same one that was aggressively haunting Mrs. Perrin. Because when I was in the library of the Conjuring House during the tour with Amanda, I believe this is in Amanda's video of us going to the Conjuring House, this succubus made herself present, and it was absolutely horrifying. Some people say, especially like the current owner of the Conjuring House, says that she smells like rotting flesh or very smelly smell when, quote, the big scary demon of the house is there. But I think that's just the succubus. I think she's a really big driving force behind the hauntings at the house. And when we originally went there, if you watch our Conjuring House video, Anthony, he's one of our friends, he and I went down into the basement during the tour, and he was talking about how there was a woman that he felt that was like staring at him over behind the coal basin in the basement. So like if you walk down the stairs and then immediately turn left, you see the scary hallway that people always don't want to go down. That leads over to where the furnace is. And that is where I believe the essence of the succubus lives. But she also is in the library just because Corey brought up the fact of the dream with Mrs. Perrin. And what I'm trying to say is when we went there the first time with Anthony, he started bringing up the idea of the succubus, and I shut it down because I was very, very nervous. Like I said, I was 5 months pregnant at the time. We had already, we'd already booked the Conjuring House, and there was no way I wasn't going to go because I was like, well, nothing's going to hurt me. Nothing can hurt the baby. Everything's fine. And I kept it that way. But I feel like when we went there the second time with Amanda, just Emily and I, she really wanted to be more forceful, and I tried to shut it down as much as possible, but also get good content for the video because that's also why we're there. So anyways, in addition to the succubus that's in the living room / library area, as well as downstairs in the basement, I think those are like the ways that she likes to present. There's also a skittery lower vibrational entity that Em and I experienced around sunrise, so like 6 a.m., 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, which we think may actually be the entity linked to causing the upstairs beds to shake and vibrate. Because we were sitting downstairs on the couch that has the Ouija board blanket in front of the fireplace, and we kept getting this like super, super like jittery feeling. And our REM pod was going off again. And the flashlights on the couch were going off behind us too, because we were trying to record like a paranormal inception video, if you will. This little scary entity kept bothering us. And he was talking about how he like vibrates and like rings almost like an old alarm clock. So we were like, oh, this is the poltergeist of waking up in the morning. Could you imagine you hate waking up in the morning so much that your negative energy creates a poltergeist of waking up in the morning? So it just like, it makes you wake up. Anyways, it's just funny to me. All right, moving on to the kitchen. So the kitchen is downstairs too. If you walk in through any of the front doors and just keep walking right past the staircases, you will reach the kitchen. The kitchen is the room that has like the quail, I think it is, taxidermied and mounted to the side of the wall. There's also like floral things hanging from the ceiling. Someone, like bunches of dried flowers. Someone in one of our YouTube comments was like, why is there a dead bird hanging on the wall? Wouldn't that smell? No, it's taxidermied. And then someone else talked about how they should get rid of the flowers that are hanging from the ceiling to make room for new energy or something. But like when we went there with Amanda, we actually asked Corey about it because one of the flower bundles was turning, and there was no reason for it to be turning because there was no air conditioning on, because it's the Conjuring House. There's not air conditioning like that. We turned off all the dehumidifiers and things like that to get rid of background noise and not have that be a part of any sort of paranormal speculation. And we asked Corey, we're like, oh, we just thought those were like bunches of flowers because people used to dry herbs and things and hang them. But he said that those are actual, like, the flowers that hang in the kitchen of the Conjuring House are actually supposed to ward off negative energy. And in my opinion, the kitchen is one of the safest places. It just depends on how late into the night you're staying at the Conjuring House, because Emily and I have realized that with both of our trips there, the longer you get into the night, the worse the activity gets. So if it's early on in the evening or very early in the morning, once the sun starts to rise, the activity isn't that bad. Really not at all. But in the dead of night is when it is the scariest place to be. So for the kitchen, there is the soul of a sweet old lady who bakes bread and like baked goods. We were down there and we were getting pretty just tired and overwhelmed from driving to go to the Conjuring House and flying and packing and prepping. And there was stuff with our Airbnb that was just going wrong too. So we were tired when we got there. And because of that, the souls, or like not the souls, the negative entities, the more scary, low vibrational things were taking a toll on us. And this little old lady kept making us smell strawberry shortcake and pie in order to make us feel better, which was very cute. And at this point in the video that we make on our channel, our original investigation at the Conjuring House, there is the soul of a man who I believe I call the duty head, who makes you perceive things which frighten you the most. And that was at the point where I had to sort of walk outside because he was making me perceive just things that scare me. Additionally, this is where we had an interaction with a soldier who actually kind of has like a crush on Amanda, which is pretty cute. He's spitting with her. Then she's talked to a couple of times in different videos. I think videos on her own and possibly ones where she's done collaborations with Sam and Colby, if you guys are familiar with their videos. But it was really cute. So check out the video on her channel if you want more information about the part where we channel the soul of a soldier for her. It was really cute. All right, moving to the upstairs. So there's an older woman who sits in the chair in the middle room. So if you're in the middle room, the way it was added on, the middle room is the room that I guess the bed is supposed to shake. And it's the room where spontaneous photons of light have been caught on video and the bed rattles, shakes, and levitates, or is at least alleged to. And Sam and Colby with Amanda caught like a picture or a heat outline of a boy in one of the windows. But there's a chair in that middle room. And I always see a really cute old lady just sitting there and rocking. And it just makes me happy. Both times that I've been there, she just sits there. She's probably in her 80s-ish, I would say. Probably not that old. She just looks older. Oh, maybe she's in her 80s. I feel like she's in her 80s. But yeah, she's just really cute. There's also a staunch family midwife and the watcherman who overlooks the safety of the property. That was interesting. When you go in the first bedroom, when you walk up the stairs, not the one that has the dolls or the birthing room in it, but the one to the far left, that is where I saw the soul of what they say the watcherman. So in addition to the souls that peek around the corner that are like shadow figures, there's another one that's a little bit different. And I feel like you can see him on the property too, like outside of the house. But I talked to him on the inside of the house. So back then, when you had more affluent families that had larger pieces of property, farm animals, livestock, goods, stuff like that, they would hire someone to live on the property to make sure that things wouldn't get stolen. And that is exactly what the soul of this man did when he was alive. It was his job to sort of be like the security for the Conjuring House. And he does that to this day. He hangs out, makes sure people don't steal things and sort of act correctly. And it was just a fun thing to see. He was kind of cool. Oh, and in the middle room, during our investigation video that we did just with PsycKicks, we had our REM pod. It was going absolutely crazy because during that point in time, Em and I were channeling the souls of a man on the left-hand side, or the left-hand room, and a woman on the right-hand side who were talking to us just about how they used to live in the Conjuring House, and they were just human souls sharing their story. But the bigger poltergeist, which resides in the basement of the home, became extremely angry that we were focusing on the human souls related to the home and not it. And I think it almost broke our REM pod, actually. I've never seen a REM pod go like all the way to every single color and like not stop. And I think that's like one of the only times I've really seen M be super scared. But yeah, that was a fun time. Now let's move on to the basement of the Conjuring House. When we're down in the basement, in addition to the succubus that's downstairs over by like the coal bin and the furnace area that Anthony was perceiving because she was being a duty head to him, Anthony's a big scaredy cat. So I was like, listen to me. Look at me in my eyes. Do not talk to the scary woman. Leave it alone. But there's also a really nice period woman, or like a woman from, I want to say she's probably like from the 1760s, 1750s. She kept the vegetables downstairs. And she was talking to Anthony, or talking to me about Anthony. So if you're downstairs in the basement, there's a lot of like marble slabs, because in the wintertime, they would bring in some of the livestock that couldn't survive or like hang out in the harsh New England weather. They'd bring them downstairs into the basement to keep them warm over the winter. But there's also areas where they would keep vegetables like carrots, potatoes, things like that, because it was cold. So they would keep longer. But she came downstairs and was like, listen, don't be eating the vegetables because you're a bigger guy. And I just thought that was funny. And then the other big presence that is in the basement that Emily talks to in both videos, I believe, is this sort of masculine authority entity. And I had someone write something in the YouTube comments when they watched this video where we react to Amanda's investigation alone after we had left the Conjuring House with her. So Stasia on YouTube says, "Hi, Em and Liv. I just watched the video of you guys in the basement talking to the authority figure, and I thought you might like to know the understanding I received about them." So in the video, both Amanda's, our reaction video, and the one when we were there, Emily talks about like this big giant sort of like, and big giant, I say like personality wise, masculine figure that sort of makes you deal with things that scare you and help boost your confidence in yourself and the things that you're scared of. So like, get over your fear of things, basically. And M explains more in the video, but Stasia says, "I know Liv will specifically understand this. Their authority isn't over any being. Spiritual authority means the energy of the being they are will never step outside of universal law and will only contribute their energy for the highest good of all, and are evolved enough to do this by their choice or their own free will. That's why they're perceived as neutral. Their neutrality comes from an evolved perspective and helps us evolve and integrate our own soul and power into our conscious. We need positive and negative to do this. The energy of their being also only allows soul agreements to be fulfilled. This is their spiritual authority and why they are seen by the other energies as such in the hierarchy." Em talks about a hierarchy in this video too. "Just them being there makes this so. Technically, they don't have to do anything or talk to anyone at all to do this, but if there's a soul agreement to, they will. This means that each person that goes there, for example, like someone that visits the Conjuring House like we will only receive the energy their soul has agreed to, which is true for all of us at all times, but I just put that example for understanding's sake. Thank you, Liv. Seeing someone with such an expanded conscious helps me see the truth behind the fear I've been trying to understand for so long, and I know I was meant to see and understand this being/energy. Thank you both for making the video and being your beautiful, authentic selves. Kind regards, Anastasia." Or Anastasia, however you want to say it. But Anastasia, or Anastasia, I saw your comment. I really liked it because I felt like the way Em was explaining it reaches a lot of different perspectives of people, but I really liked the way that you explained it as well, which is why I wanted to share it, because it helps, envelop and explain the entity that M is talking about in the video very, very concisely. So thank you for being able to put something into words better than I feel like I could. Now, the last thing I want to talk about regarding the Conjuring House is the controversial Cody and Satori. So when we went to the Conjuring House with Amanda and she invited us to go there, we were not only stoked, but I saw on her itinerary, because Amanda's just a fabulous human being, and she is a psychic medium for anybody that wants to be like, is Amanda a medium? Because I don't know. One of the things I want to do for a future video and possibly a podcast, probably more a video, is there's so many videos out there of people that are like, this person's a fake, this person's a fraud, and all of this other stuff. I'm tired of like just the negativity around mediums and stuff all the time. I'm thinking about doing a reaction video talking about why psychics, mediums, or certain readers are actually like super cool and authentic. And I might do one about Amanda. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I even cut this out of the podcast because I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm just tired of the negativity and I want to be more positive. Anyways, on the itinerary that Amanda put for the Conjuring House investigation, she talked about or like mentioned someone called Satori, and Em and I were like, who is this Satori person? Like, what is this supposed to, like, who is this? So we didn't know who they were, and they might have been, they may have been the tour guide for us, but that's not how it worked out. Corey was our tour guide anyways, which is completely fine because Corey's a fabulous person. I'm sure Satori is too, but I didn't get to actually meet Satori or Cody. I just got to meet Amanda, and I just like, I didn't know anything about Cody and Satori until Sam and Colby's video came out. If you guys are new and you don't know anything that I'm talking about, Cody and Satori are tour guides of the Conjuring House, and they were on one of Sam and Colby's like big videos or whatever. And in the video, they are said to be able to hold hands and amplify the paranormal activity so that spirits can communicate through the form of like projecting knocking sounds. And Emily had me blind react to that video where they talked to two of Sam and Colby's guests. I forget their names in the video. And like Cody and Satori, like I think Satori goes like A, B, C, D. And whenever the knock stops at one of the letters of the alphabet, then they'll like spell out words and phrases and answer questions and things like that. So Emily asked me blindly, I'm not going to tell you what happened, but do you think this is real? And the only thing I could remember was Amanda talking about how she had witnessed Cody and Satori firsthand, I believe. That's the way I interpreted this. And she didn't tell me how, when, where, why. She just was like, you can't say anything, but I wanted them to come, and it's sad that they can't, but they like do this thing and it's really, really cool. And she just like went over it very, very fast, and I didn't know contextually what she was talking about. And then Corey, our tour guide, also told me the same thing. He's like, yeah, they're like the Fox sisters. And I was like, wait, weren't the Fox sisters people from like this, it's like turn of the century that were a part of like the whole spiritualist movement, and they ended up being debunked because they said and like actually admitted to cracking their toes, and that they weren't actually spiritualists or mediums really at all? And he just said no. And I was like, okay, well, interesting. So I thought maybe Corey just doesn't know who the Fox sisters are, or if he does, then he didn't like read the part about how they literally came forward and were like, yeah, we've just been cracking our toes. I think at least one of the sisters did, possibly. But anyways, I just was like, okay, interesting. And then it left my mind. Well, then it comes out that Sam and Colby had Cody and Satori on their video, and that's why Amanda was talking about it and mentioned it, and why Corey also mentioned it. But, you know, they said, don't say anything. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't even remember why, like, I probably won't remember this conversation anyways. But then Em brings it up and is like, we're going to react to this, and I want your blind reaction. I was like, is this the person that Amanda was talking about? And she said yes. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I believe wholeheartedly that Amanda is a medium. And if she saw Cody and Satori do this, I believe that it is real. But I was like, I got to also put my mediumship hat on and see if this is real. So I put my mediumship hat on, and the experience that I got is in our reaction video of, I think somehow they're able to like amplify the sounds, but I don't know how. And egotistically speaking, so without my mediumship brain, That doesn't make sense to me. Like, I want to see it in person. And I'm sad that Satori didn't get to come into our video to at least like explain it or anything when we went for our investigation at the Conjuring House with Amanda. But going back to spreading positivity instead of not spreading positivity, I do say in our reaction video that I would like to have like physical evidence to like see them not do this, because I didn't know, like, I don't know. I've just got like so many people have been so angry about Em and I talking about Cody and Satori. And like with my mediumship brain, I feel like they are real. Also on the fact that Amanda, based on our conversation, also thinks that they're real. And in the video, it's not like they're spreading bad messages, you know, like they're not like what is the, I think they talked about like, they asked Abigail Arnold, like, what is the meaning of like living a physical existence? And they said love. Like, that is not a bad thing to talk about. So even if it isn't real, it's not like they're sending bad messages or being bad proponents of anything. But am I also skeptical? Do I want to see if it's real myself? Yes. Do I believe it from what my mediumship brain says and Amanda says? Yes. But am I, again, it's so skeptical, but that's what I'm talking about. Like spreading positivity. I think someone should be innocent until proven guilty. And I wanted to also just talk about like my first impression when I heard about this was like when they were compared to the Fox sisters. I was like, listen, weren't the Fox sisters frauds? And then everyone on the internet that is debunking Cody and Satori is saying that it's the Fox sisters. I don't know. Do I want it to be real? Yes. Do I think there's a lot of harm in saying that it's real? No. Are they like going around and scamming people like the Fox sisters did, Cody and Satori? No, not that I know of. They're just like, this was our video. This is what we made. This is what we believe. Cool beans. And I don't know. People are like, didn't you know that there's lots of stories and things debunking this? Like they couldn't do it on this video and that video. Like, no, I have not watched any of those videos, but I don't know. That's just what I wanted to share about it. I understand who the Fox sisters are. I know what the thing is. Someone did compare them to the Fox sisters, which did raise my curiosity, I would say. But I don't know. I'm still going to go with the fact that it's real because innocent until proven guilty. But I also do want to talk about how mediums aren't supposed to know everything, too. So some people are like, well, what if it is wrong? Then you're wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. Not everything that we get as mediums is right, especially in an instance like that. If it's not a reading with like a person or a pet or a plant or a house where I can get physical validation from someone, then it's only speculation. I'm just telling you what I receive as a medium to the best of my abilities. And sometimes that's wrong. But until then, I would rather spread positivity, peace, love, and positivity, as Logic likes to say, instead of just being angry and hateful, because the message that they convey in Sam and Colby's video is not one that's bad. But yeah, if you want to check out our reaction video to the Conjuring House, I will list the stuff below for Cody and Satori, our reaction to that. If you want the full episode, our videos at the Conjuring House and with Amanda. So go check those out in the description below. Let me know what you think about the podcast in the comments if you're listening on the PsycKicks Extras YouTube channel. And yeah, until then, thanks for tuning in. We are your PsycKicks. Peace.